What is up, guys? Crimson here, and welcome to the most simplistic guide to Redstone on the entire internet. So over the next probably couple of months, you're gonna get a video every week, once every Monday, and I'm gonna take you through from the very basics of Redstone up to extremely complex stuff, because I have been messing about with Redstone. I think I started messing about with Redstone about 2 updates after it actually got introduced into the game, and ever since then I was just coming up with contraptions and stuff, and coming up with nifty little things you could do with it. But I was coming up with the contraptions at a point where what I wanted to do with Redstone, you couldn't actually do it, because most of these items and the other items that I will show you in the coming weeks, because they're a bit more complex than the basic items I have here, these didn't exist. So all the kind of contraptions that I was making was all like theoretical based kind of contraptions. So when the Redstone stuff actually came in, I started experimenting. Then we had an update that completely and utterly broke about 95% of all of my contraptions, because they changed the way that Redstone worked, and I will explain that in a future video. So I had to redesign all of my contraptions, so finally got that done after a few months. And then a few months later they did another update that completely broke my contraptions again, and after that I just had enough, and I left Minecraft alone and went on with other games, if I'm honest with you. But now I've come back to Minecraft, and I've come back to Redstone because there is some really cool stuff that you can do with Redstone now. There's some really neat stuff you can do with it. I understand why they've made Redstone work the way it does now, and if they had gone from the way it used to work when I first started messing about with it to the way it works now, if they'd done that in one update, I would have just like bought out some ridiculously good contraptions. But they didn't. That's how stuff works. You win some, you lose some. So anyway, I want to bring to you the very basics of Redstone, so I can train you up from a basic Redstone creator to be able to build everything from security systems for your house and your single player missions. Within like servers and stuff, you can have systems where only you will be able to access it, combination locks for doors, just all kinds of stuff. Okay, ways to basically like XP farms and stuff, automated farming, simplistic computers and stuff like that. We will do all of it, I promise you, we will do all of it. But in this episode, we're starting right back from ground one. We're starting with the basics. So, for those of you who don't know, this is what Redstone looks like, okay? So, the way you'll find Redstone is it will be in a block, okay? And I will show you that block. Okay, that is what Redstone will look like. Now, you need what I refer to as a level 2 or level 3 pickaxe, which is like a stone or an iron. You can't mine this with a wooden axe. It won't let you, okay? Because the wooden axe isn't strong enough. So you need a stone, gold, iron, or obviously diamond. We'll do it easily to get this redstone, okay? They usually appear on their own. Sometimes you might get 2 or 3 blocks together if you're lucky, but they usually appear on their own. If you're very lucky, you can get what's called a redstone vein, which is I reckon in about a year of playing Minecraft, when I first got it, I reckon I only found about 15 veins. That's how rare they are. If you find one, then you're very lucky. If you find more than like a few in the same area, you've basically just hit the jackpot, because redstone veins are pretty damn rare. and they're usually between about 4 and about 8 blocks of redstone together. So you'll mine redstone block, and you'll get this, which is called redstone dust. And this is what redstone dust looks like when it's put on the floor. It will just be one little blob like that. Okay, so you're thinking, well, what's that gonna do? It doesn't look nice. It looks like blood on the floor. What am I gonna use that for? Well, if you place another one next to it with another redstone dust, and you can get anywhere from about, I think it's 2 to 4 the last time I checked. I'm not sure whether they've changed that, but you'll get about 2 to 4 redstone dust from each block that you mine. Okay, that might have changed, but that's what it used to be. Okay, so you can put this in just like a straight line. You can make it turn. You can put it into a grid. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. But, and there's a but here, okay? Redstone is like electricity, but the redstone is the wires. So you need to send the power through those wires. And that's what these little things do. So this is called a switch, and this is all that's basically a power source for the redstone. This is also a power source, which is a button. So if I load this out like here, you will see it's currently on its turned on state. If I flick it, which is right click, it turns off, and it turns off the power. So let's get rid of this. So turn on, turn off. Simple as that. Now, you will see here the redstone is a very, very, very bright red. Okay? Now, as you go further down, it will get darker and darker and darker and darker and darker until it stops, like bubbling like this. Okay? Now, from here, these last 4 blocks won't power anything because they're not bubbling. And that's because redstone has a limit of 15 squares. Now you're probably thinking, well, if it has a limit of 15 squares, how can I actually do anything with it? Well, that's where these little things come in. But just before then, I will show you what the button does. So, the switch is a constant state, okay? So it's either off or it's on, okay? It has no in between, okay? So if I just get rid of that quickly sec. The button, if I put redstone behind this block, and I will explain why that works in just a second. Okay? So the button is a power source, okay? Now the way power works in this game with redstone is that if you attach a power source, say this button, to a block, and then you activate that button, that has then delivered power to this block. So any redstone touching this block will then receive power. Like that. But, as you can see, it's only temporary power. Now, this is a kind of contraption you'd use for, like, opening doors and stuff, okay, that are going to close behind you, okay? So it's on for around about 4 or 5 seconds, and then it goes off again, okay? Just one click, and goes off again, okay? Now, if you want to, going back to the actual redstone itself, if you want to increase the range of it, you need one of these. Now, this is called a repeater. Now, okay, all 4 of these blocks are repeaters, okay? They're all the same thing. But what repeaters have on them is they have a tick timer. So, if I just give you a quick demonstration. If I do that, and then leave it down there. Now, let's just check that's going to power all the way to that. Yep, that will. Okay, brilliant. Now, we're going to do a little experiment here. And we'll just get rid of this side. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Right. Get rid of this side. and we'll put a switch there. So it doesn't matter which way around it is, by the way. If I flick that on, that has then run out of power there. So we have two squares here that aren't powered up, okay? So if I flick both these off again, and I add up to here, okay, remember, those two weren't powered, okay? If I flick these on again, you will now see that they are powered. Those last two are powered, whereas these last two aren't. That's because a repeater adds another 15 blocks again on top of that. So if I then go out till this runs out of power, so that's run out of power there. So if I then put redstone down this end of it and put another repeater in, then it will extend the power. Now you're probably thinking I've just made a complete fool of myself and it's not worked. Well, no, I did that on purpose. Because repeaters are directional, which means that they have to face it a certain way for them to work. So if my redstone's travelling in this direction and the end is travelling in that direction, then I need to have the repeater facing that way. Now it's very hard to see, and it used to be a lot easier to see, and I don't know why they've toned it down a bit, but here on the pixels here there's a tiny, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a tiny little arrow like that, okay? Now you want that facing the direction that you want the power to go, okay? So obviously you've seen that's a really weak connection, and that's powered up again for however long you want to go, okay? Now, the way the tick timer works, okay? Now, for the tick timer, I'm going to be using a piston. Now, these, as I will show you right now, extend up when they are powered. Now, I want to show you a little trick. Now if I right click on these to move this and set them all back to normal, and then flick that up, you'll see that all four of them will go up at the same time. Okay, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, works perfectly fine. Now, if I edit these tick timers, so that's basically instant, and then that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, okay? So each one of these, the connection is going to run down here, it's going to get to that and say, okay, you want an instant connection to the block, so I'm going to give you an instant connection to the block. This power is going to go to this one and say, okay, you want a 1 second delay to this block, I'll give you a 1 second delay, and then I'll deliver the power to this block, and so on and so on and so on. Now, obviously, you can, I'm just using this here for a bit of light, but I will explain what this does in just a minute. You can obviously do this, which gives you a massive amount of delay, and I will show you how that works in just a second. So, let's see these go up in sequence. And as you see, the connection gets given and taken away from them depending on how long the delay is. Works like magic. Now, each one of these repeaters is saying to the power, when power comes into me, if I'm like this, when power comes into me, I want you to give it a 3 second delay. So the repeater is going to hold on to that power for 3 seconds, then release on to the next one. And you will see how long it takes for this piston to get power. Okay, there's so much of a delay. Now if you set them all back to normal, you will see that it is almost instantaneous. Okay, it's so much faster because you haven't got that delay in it. Okay, and that's how delay things work. Now, this is a redstone torch. This is another form of power, but unlike the button and the switch, and there's a few other different sources of power which I'll explain to you in another video, this can't be turned off unless you destroy it. Okay, so this is constant power. Okay, so no matter what you do, it can't be turned off. Okay, you can't turn it off with a lever. Okay, you can't turn it off with a switch. Okay, so that is constant power. Okay, it's the I'm pretty sure it's the only form of constant power you can actually get in the game. So guys, that is all from me for the first video of a easy guide to Redstone, the easiest guide on the internet, and I will see you next time where we will talk about other forms of how to give power to Redstone, and we'll talk about a few other bits and pieces, as well as a very easy mob trap that can be made with only 5 pieces. See you in the next video, guys.